If you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or keep walking? Of course you take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay you when you win. Let's face it, guys, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. So do the smart thing this football season. If you're going to bet with MyBookie. Did you know you could bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like you're going to lose your bet, you can always just take the other side at MyBookie. Join now and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code Detroit100 to activate the offer. That's promo code DETROIT100. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Fellas, I want to tell you about a product that can improve your performance in the bedroom. And what better way to improve the quality of your life than to please the woman of your dreams? Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. Blue Chew is the fast and easy solution for any man looking to enhance their performance and step up their game. You don't have to be one of those guys that finishes quickly, or you don't have to be one of those guys that, at the end of the day, regrets not having a great sex life. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code DETROIT. All you got to do is pay the $5 shipping and handling fee. Again, that's BlueChew.com, promo code Detroit to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
And welcome back, and we've had a couple weeks off. Had a little hurricane fun down here in the Florida area, but we're back to talk some Red Wings hockey this week. I know I'm pretty excited, not only to be back talking, but the season's right around the corner. We're, 3 weeks away from preseason games?
So close. Less than that. 11 days from the first puck.
That's 11 days to the preseason game?
Yep.
All right.
It's just preseason, but it's still hockey.
Yeah, but to me, the preseason is not very long in hockey, so that preseason is a good show as far as to see what these younger guys are going to look like, and just super excited for it. So that means it's almost time to order the center ice package and get this season going. I'm super excited to see how this team turns out.
It's also time to start thinking about fantasy hockey.
Yeah, it really is, because I haven't done it in a long time, but it is a lot of fun. But this week I'm super excited because we have a very special guest coming on that I have listened to on Sports Talk Radio for a long time, way back in the WDFN Sports Talk days when it was all Detroit all day. Sean Baligian is going to be joining us here in a few minutes, and he's a big hockey guy. He actually does some announcing for hockey, I believe it's the OHL. It's super excited about it. We're going to get his thoughts on not only the upcoming season, but I got some fun true and false questions for him regarding the upcoming season to get his thoughts on some different topics like, expectations for the season, players that, we're hoping have breakout years or at least big improvement years, and get that going. It'll be fun to talk some hockey with a hocky guy.
And whether he likes pancakes or waffles.
Yeah, sure. That did not make my final list of questions.
It did?
But we'll talk to him again during the season, hopefully, and we'll see if I can't work that in there.
All right. All right.
All right. This week on Top Shelf, we've got a guest that I've been looking forward to talking to for a long time, and I know I've told him this a few times. In my opinion, one of the last great voices of Detroit Sports Talk Radio on WDFN. It can be heard mornings from 6 to 9. Sean Baligian, thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to talking about the Red Wings with you, and how you doing?
Tremendous. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the kind words. I'm not sure I deserve them, but are you kidding me? Twist my arm. Let's talk hockey. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. I know there's been a big buzz ever since who got hired. I love the fact that one of the first things that Yzerman said was fans kind of have to temper their expectations. It's going to take time. I think the fans have pretty much bought into that. Can you give me a sense of what it's like? And being down here in Tampa, you are pretty much my link to sports back home. I listen every morning. And how you feeling about the upcoming season? And of course, with the hiring of Yzerman, we're all giddy. But what's your thoughts?
Well, I think first and foremost that a new vision for this franchise had to happen. I mean, make no mistake about that. And the one thing that I think, especially down in your neck of the woods, the one thing that I think this franchise needs is, I think this franchise needs somebody that is willing to make tough decisions, hard decisions. And I think when you look at Steve Yzerman and when he was at Tampa and some of the tough decisions he had to make, and with some guys that were fan favorites, and I think there was a level, in one regard, look, loyalty is a wonderful thing, but in another regard, it can really hinder your franchise. And I think that's what happened. So I think first and foremost, to have a guy that is going to think with his head as opposed to maybe having that sentimental gene, I think that's a big thing for this franchise. You're right about one thing. I think Steve Yzerman has gone out of his way to tell people, look, we're going to work to get this franchise back to where people want it to be and where they grew accustomed to being, but it's not going to happen overnight. And I think for the most part, a majority of fans expected that. I think there are two different groups. I think there are the people that think that he's just going to snap his fingers and make everything better. Well, today's National Hockey League doesn't work that way.
Sure.
And there are the people that think it's just going to automatically be better. And, already it's better. And they're going to struggle again this year. Make no mistake about it. This is probably a couple of years. But, the thing with me, guys, is this isn't something that is a short-term fix. This is overhauling the way that they've conducted business. And it was a wonderful era, and the whole Red Wing way is going to be remembered as it well should be for being a tremendous era of not only hockey for the Detroit Red Wings, but I think hockey in the National Hockey League, period. But times have changed, and the Red Wings had to change as well, and that brings Steve Yzerman to the forefront right now.
Yeah, I agree, and I know that, me, probably like everyone else back home, when the news happened, I was giddy, and I don't think I stopped smiling for like 3 days, but the thought of where things go from here, and I'll kind of tie this into the news we just got yesterday with Cronwall retiring, it's almost sad, but it's almost a good thing because Cronwall was a phenomenal defenseman, and not in a Nick Lidstrom way, but he put fear into people when he was on the ice, and for me personally, when he retired, it was, rough, not rough to see him go, but it was kind of exciting at the same time because someone's going to get a chance now to step up, and we needed to fill, I think, more youth.
I don't think there's any debate about that. And, it's interesting because, Nick Cronwall, in a certain regard, is, one of the last vestiges of, the bygone era. This is a guy that's been around since 03, 04, for goodness sake. So
right.
He just missed out. He just missed out on the cup in 02, but he was part of that unbelievable team in 07 and 8 that won the cup. And what's interesting to me? I think Nick Cronwall, in my mind, guys, and I hope people put this in the right context. This isn't necessarily dogging him. I think people turned Cronwall and some of the devastating hits he made. I think people turned that into making him a top-line defender. And he wasn't a top-line defender. He was a good defender. He was a guy that you wanted to have. But I think in turn maybe people, put him on a pedestal that perhaps, he didn't deserve to be on. He wasn't a one. Nick Lidstrom was a one. He played a good 2 on the top pairing with Nick Lidstrom, obviously. But, he wasn't a guy that was going to have his own higher calling on the top pairing. So it was a situation to me where, especially as his career started to wind down, you saw maybe some more of those limitations. For goodness sake, he was 38 years old,
right.
For the last half of the season. So it's not a bad thing. And sometimes when people hear you say that, he wasn't a guy that was going to go win a Norris Trophy or anything, but he was a good, solid defenseman and certainly a vestige of an era that had to end. It was a wonderful time for Red Wing fans, but like all eras, it had to come to an end. I'm with you. The sooner you start getting some of the young guys in here and you start doing a better job of maybe bringing in an influx of players out of drafts, and I think the last couple of drafts were a good start to those ends, the better. And the quicker the Red Wings will be, back in the position that I think people are accustomed them to being at.
Sure. Yep. And I know Greg's got a couple questions for you here, too.
Sean.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Quick question for you here. How much of a difference does it make with the old GM having roots in the pay-to-win system and the new GM understanding how to work the salary cap and bring guys in to a situation that they're going to stay in for a long time. For instance, Yzerman left the Lightning in great shape for the next 5 or 6 years. They're going to reap the rewards of Steve Yzerman. How much of a difference is that going to make for Detroit, and how soon do you think you'll see that improvement?
That's $1 million question. I think, and I hope that people don't take this as a slight to Steve Yzerman, but I think a lot of franchises would love to walk into a position where you have a guy like Steven Stamkos and like Victor Hedman that aren't, the finished product yet. They're young players, and that's the position that he walked into. And with that being said, what Steve Yzerman did is he drafted well, and he was able to turn some of those draft picks into some shrewd moves. He drafted well later in drafts. I mean, the Kucherov, I think everybody will sit back and look at, picking a guy up like Kucherov in the second round and making that work. But, I mean, to me, some of the trades that he made were just absolute money. And, again, he didn't think with his heart. He didn't worry about the whole loyalty thing. And, whether it be St. Louis, whether it be Le Cave, I mean, whether even in a certain regard to Jonathan Drouin, who was a draft choice of theirs. You know what? He thought with his head. So, to me, they bit the bullet a couple times, because if you remember, when he first took over, he brought Guy Boucher in, and they had incredible success right away. And then they kind of floundered a little bit. And that's not a bad thing for a franchise. It isn't, to have some young players that get a taste of winning, and then to kind of take the step back, because you get those high draft picks and you can make those draft picks count after the fact. So this is a situation where, I'm not sure that the Red Wings are in that point, because, maybe they don't have that Stamkos in the system yet. Maybe they don't have that Hedman in the system yet. But that's not to say that they're completely, lacking in talent. There's some good players from the last couple of drafts in particular that I think fans are going to be accustomed to seeing. But here's the problem that I found, that you brought up with, especially the last general manager, and that, of course, being Ken Holland. The question is, well, how much do you season these guys? Do you season them until they're beyond green, and where they're, dare I say, overcooked? And I think that was the fine line that this franchise had a difficult time finding. Okay, when to bring these young guys up and give them the opportunities and make them pay the price, so to speak, because that was part of the beauty of what happened in Tampa, in my opinion. That you had a group of players that, experienced some ups and downs, but were able to do it together and kind of learned on the fly. I think that was a pretty cool dynamic. And as you said, it turned Tampa into what they are today. That is a very, very, very healthy franchise.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, even despite that crazy upset that happened last season. I mean, Tampa's going to be a contender, like Greg was saying, probably for the next good 4 years, barring any crazy trades, injuries, or anything crazy happening. What I got for you, Sean, is something a little fun. I know I've been guilty of just talking about the Yzerman thing probably too much and getting too excited, because that's just what I do with the Wings.
You should be excited, though.
I am.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Everybody should be excited. This is fresh blood, and a guy that gets this franchise, and a guy that gets today's hockey. So, Mike, as far as I'm concerned, slap it up, baby. Good times are coming.
Oh, talk about slapping it up. I was watching the press conference in my home Wings jersey, drinking a big, tall ginger ale, as Mickey calls them, just giddy. It was like Christmas morning. And then, of course, we got a long way to go. But what I did, I got 4 questions for you, true, false, about the upcoming season. Just wanted to get your input on it and see what you think. And the first one is that Larkin will be named the captain before the season starts. True or false?
True.
True. Okay.
I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later. Part of me says maybe after the season, but I say before the season starts. How's that? True.
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing that I don't. Why wait so long to name a captain if it's. I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion or not, but I know in fans' eyes it is. Like, who else are you going to pick? He's the plain.
Yeah, the inevitability of it. I'm with you. That's a fair statement.
Yeah, it's okay. So we both agree there.
Well, a large part of being captain is who brings the most cupcakes to camp, right?
Well, he's young enough. He should be bringing some food. Next one, and this one you see a lot in the fan talk online and on the message boards and all that stuff. True or false, Sean? The Wings should make an offer to Braden Point.
True.
Really?
Why not? Try. Why not? I mean, honestly, you know what? You're at the position right now, in my opinion, and I know that's out there and everything, but you're at the point right now where, look, you have to be honest about what you are. Now, you know, at what price is this going to come? How much is this going to hurt you? This is a guy that's 23 years old. I think he could come in here. I think he could be a leader for this team. And again, he's only 23 years old. And, you know, first and foremost, you get to the point where you say to yourself, look, you know, and not only to yourself, but I think you say to him, listen, there are going to be some hard times, but this is going to be something that is, you know, going to be special in a couple of years, and we want you to be a part of it. There have been rumors over an offer sheet. There have been rumors over trade. And I'll tell you what, especially from where some of these places are coming, I firmly believe where there's smoke, there's fire. So I think there's some definite interest there. How they make it happen will be interesting. Now, we all know that the thing with the offer sheet, it's frowned upon, and I think you saw what happened with Montreal and Carolina. That was almost comical before the draft.
Right.
How you do it can be left up for debate. You know, whether you keep trying to make a deal with Julian, whether you sign the offer sheet itself. But I think you go after a guy like that who's 23, and he knows that the Red Wings aren't going to be close, but say, hey, listen, we want you to be a focal point, dare I say, a centerpiece of the next generation of the Red Wings. And, you know, a guy like that at 23 years old, that maybe that's not a bad thing.
No, it appears to be that he could be a franchise player.
But do you offer him the contract as an RFA, or do you wait until next year and give him a contract as an unrestricted and save your draft picks?
I think you wait. Yeah, I think you wait. You know, I mean, obviously there have been discussions about it.
Right.
To me, you know, look, I'm sure there have been discussions about trades and everything, but you know, if you had an opportunity to do it now and pull a trigger now, and you thought you could make it happen. But as you said, the likelihood is you might have to wait to do that. But absolutely, I mean, this is a guy that, as you look at the progression of his career so far, he's just getting better and better. And again, he's still only 23 years old. So, yeah, I think you make a move for a player. And one thing that I'm going to remind people, and I'm sure you guys know this, is especially when you're talking about these deals, to get something, you have to give up something. And a lot of times that package may be too much and people want to, you know, give up and everything. But that's where you have to trust Steve Yzerman, because he has really been shrewd with some of his deals. Let's give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I think the one point that you could also look at it too is that, yes, if you sign the offer sheet and he signs, you know, you do lose a healthy number of draft picks, but he's really stocked the pond with the draft last year with how much youth they really have that they can pull from. And next year they have a ton of cap money that they can use to go out and get some other pieces too. So I agree. I would love to see Braden Point in a Detroit uniform. It's just at what cost? But like you said, when it all boils down to it, you have to trust what Yzerman does.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got two more for you, and then I know Greg's got a follow-up question for you. True or false, Jimmy Howard has a bounce-back year and makes the All-Star game? I know it's a tough one.
I'm gonna say false. I don't know if we've ever had this conversation. I feel bad for Jimmy. I really do. You know what? The reason why I say that is I think Jimmy Howard's curse in life is he's just a good goalie. I honestly, I think that's his curse in life.
And it's the worst city to be a good goalie in.
Yeah, that's honestly, I'm not trying to be funny. It's just he's a good goalie, and this is a situation the last couple of years. I think you have to ask yourself, how many more points do they have, or should I say, don't they have, without Jimmy Howard at the helm? I mean, really, he's been a good goalie, and there have been so many nights where he was just hung out to dry.
Sure.
And, you know, his overall numbers, they aren't great, but I think you have to take a deeper look, even beyond the save percentage and beyond the goals against average, and see the amount of rubber that he's facing, and in particular the quality scoring chances that he's seen. So I think, unfortunately, Jimmy's one of those guys that has bared the brunt of a lot of frustration and a lot of things that really don't have much to do with him the last few years. But again, that's his curse. He's just been a good goalie. I don't think he stinks. I don't think he's great. I think he's been a good goalie.
Yeah, and I think that it was one thing for me watching the games last year because I get the Center Ice package every year because I have to in order to watch all the games. But if you look at how many games the Wings either blew or gave up a lead in the last minute or two of a game or a big period or anything like that, I think a lot of that that shift has to come away from Howard a little bit and focus on how bad the defense is. And if the defense gets better, that could essentially make him better. So I think this year is going to be really important to reboost that defense, and then we'll see. Maybe he is better than what last year showed, but I hope so in his defense.
Yeah, how many times, though, I know you were watching, how many times were they were just horrible in their own zone?
Terrible.
I mean, just horrible in their own zone. And a lot of that isn't just on the blue line. It's the guys coming back and taking care of their defensive responsibilities. And, that's something, in one regard, yes. I mean, young players, you want to see what they have and everything. But most importantly, you have to, today's a 200-foot game. It really is. And you have to be able to play both ways. And there were a lot of forwards that, in my humble opinion, had to buy into that train of thought.
Yeah, and for me, what really drove me nuts were two things. And to expand on the point you just made, was turnovers, not just in their own end, but behind the back line, behind the goalie, the turnovers back there, and not being able to clear the zone on a penalty kill. Just flat out giving the puck away to the other team. I would lose my mind, and it happened, it seemed like, way too much for an NHL team. And that's not going to help your goalie.
Yeah, it was ugly. I mean, it's just so many little things when you're watching a game, especially in today's day and age where you can rewind and, guys that are passengers, in the defensive zone, it's depressing to me. It really is. It's one of those things that you sit back and you're like, man, somebody's got to let this guy know. You can't sit there and watch the play. I mean, there were so many times that you saw guys do that, and a lot of the young players were passengers on those plays, and that's a learning process, and they're either going to play the right way or they aren't. And then at that point in time, you make the decision. Is this a guy that we want to be part of the future here? You got to be able to play 200 feet now.
Yep, you are right. And my last one, and this will pretty much be for the entire season. Last year, the Wings finished with 73 points. This year, true or false, the Wings finished with 95 points or more.
False.
False.
They're not going to be. No, I think they're gonna struggle pretty good this year. I really do. There's still too many holes in this lineup. My guess is that the effort's going to be better. I would love to see them play, especially the way they played down the stretch. I thought you have to give them some credit as such, but are they really ready to be in a playoff type conversation? I mean, the answer to that to me is no. And I think when you're around 95 points, that you're at least in the shouting distance and everything. I don't think they're in that position. Again, I like the way that they played down the stretch. You have to give them credit, maybe with the exception being that last game in Buffalo, as you guys remember. But no, I don't think they're going to be in that conversation. Seriously, in that conversation.
Yeah, it's past couple episodes. I've pretty much just said like my biggest. I'm not having any crazy expectations for this year and all. The only thing I'm really looking for is better play in like toward the end of the period and stuff like that. Just better and just to be more consistent. String together some winning streaks or just really good play for more than just one or two games, and just overall have better play and at least be in the discussion in like March, or February, March, like not dead last in the league is really what I'm hoping for. If as horrible as that sounds for a Wings fan, but just improvement is really all I'm hoping to see, and I think
and
they will.
I don't think there's anything wrong with hoping for that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a lot of guys, the light bulb went on last year. I mean, I think you have to look at Athanasio in particular. I thought he played, an inspired game, and Larkin certainly kicked his game up. I don't think there's any two ways about that. The question is, what's the ceiling for Dylan Larkin? I've had some conversations around here with people, and, I'm not going to put him on the Yzerman and the Fedorov and the Nick Lidstrom. I'm not ready to put him on that plateau or anywhere near it, quite frankly.
Nor should we be.
People think that's sometimes I think people think that that's a shot. It's like, no, you want a young player like Dylan Larkin. You want a guy like that on your team. But, I'm not sure if that's his ceiling, so to speak.
Sean, I got one more question for you, and then we're going to let you go.
Sure.
Who is the player or players that you expect to exceed their expectations this year?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that's a great question. I would really love to see if Mantha can take what happened on the stretch, and especially what happened overseas, and go to the next level. And he's another guy that I think there were far too many times last year he was a passenger, and you'd like to see him more engaged in the attacking zone. Guys, I love Tyler Bertuzzi. I still think there's a next level there for him. I don't think that Tyler Bertuzzi's ever going to be a star, but I watched that kid play in junior, when I was doing OHL broadcasts, and he's a guy, if you look at his numbers, especially come playoff time, he's a guy that has been a money player and has produced in crunch time. So I think maybe as the stakes get a little bit higher, it would be nice to see him replicate kind of what he did, whether it be in junior or whether it be in Grand Rapids, and kick his game up to a next level, because certainly that's something that he has done in the past. So if I had to put a circle around one guy, I don't know what his ceiling is in regards to, putting up 65, 70 points a year, but I think there's a next level there for that young man, and especially in crunch time. He's a guy that has been a money player when stakes have been high, and I want to see him kind of replicate what he was able to do in the past, as I mentioned, whether it be in the OHL or the AHL. So I'll go with those two in particular.
Yeah, it's a good call. I know Bertuzzi is. I was able to come home for one game last year. They played in New Jersey, and he had quite a game. It was a game they ended up winning in overtime, which was a lot of fun. But I agree with you, Sean. Bertuzzi he's exciting. He's young, but there's just something there watching him. Like, he doesn't stop. Like, he's just. It's fun watching him take the ice, because he, like you were saying, there's something special about this kid, and I hope it translates. And with Mantha, I think that's a great call. He's got to keep his hands from getting broken, getting in fights.
I was going to say, let's send him an email and tell him to stop punching people.
Yeah, hey, guys, for the benefit of people out there, look up what Bertuzzi's been able to do in playoff, whether it be for the Griffins, whether it be for Guelph. This is a guy that elevated his game, and I think there's a next level there yet with Tyler. I kind of felt when they picked him back in 2013 that he had the potential to be a fan favorite here, and he's certainly well on his way.
Yeah, well, his uncle wasn't too bad. We liked him.
Yeah, that's for sure. No doubt about it.
Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to talk some Wings with us, and definitely looking forward to the season, as I'm a huge Wings slappy, and hopefully we can keep in touch with you throughout the season and get your feedback on it. And if you got anything you want to promote, you're again, like I mentioned, you're on WDFN in the mornings from 6 to 9, and anything else that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, with Lions Radio, with WJR, and keeping busy, man. And no, you guys call anytime. I love talking hockey. It's right around the corner. I know we're all excited about football. College is already underway, and the NFL starts. But anytime you guys want to talk hockey, I'm here.
Thanks, Sean. I can't thank you enough, and looking forward to the season start. Looking forward to talking with you again.
Pleasure chatting with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Sean.
Pleasure.
Have a great night.
My pleasure, guys.